So thank you for joining me with this interview today. What are you guys' names?
My name is Christabel.
And Janisa.
So in your opinion, how would you differentiate between ethnicity and race?
For me personally, ethnicity is what I identify with, where my culture lies. Whereas race is just how I appear to people. So I am Black, but my ethnicity is African or Ghanaian to be specific.
And what about you, Janisa?
I think the same thing.
So based off of that, how would you say that which race do you guys identify with, and what's you guys' ethnic background?
Okay, so my ethnic background is Ghanaian or African, and my race is Black/African.
My ethnicity would be I am half Filipino, half Korean, and my race is I am Asian or Pacific Islander.
Have others perceived you as a different ethnicity or race than you actually are? And if so, how did that make you feel?
Repeat that.
Have others perceived you as a different race or ethnicity than you actually are?
Well, to me personally, because of my race, I get perceived in America as a different ethnicity. It doesn't offend me because of my race, but it's just something you just correct.
And what about you?
I always get called Chinese or, something that I'm not until they ask, and I correct them. And yes, it is offensive.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever experienced or witnessed any bias associated with your race or ethnicity?
All the time, but to me personally, nobody really knows anything about Africa except for what the media tells them, which is pretty much nothing. That we live in huts and we, shoot arrows. So I really don't expect the average American to know anything about Africa. So that's why I don't mind them not even knowing where I would be from.
Because it's just ignorance.
Yeah.
What about you?
Could you repeat the question?
Have you experienced any bias towards or associated with your ethnicity or race?
Yes, I have.
How so?
Because, for instance, a lot of people assume that I can't speak, or I speak other languages except for English, but also they assume I know how to cook lo mein. People assume that I eat rice every day, which sometimes I do, but okay.
They stereotype.
Yeah.
In your opinion, how relevant is race in today's time?
It's very relevant. I think personally we live in a time period where people try to ignore race to the point where it becomes in turn racist. Acknowledging someone's identity is acknowledging their race as well. So I do think it's still pretty relevant as much as people don't want to admit it.
What about you?
Yeah, we do still see a lot of discrimination. It's very clear, in the news, of different races being treated poorly. So yeah, race is definitely still relevant.
Do you believe that policies like affirmative action are beneficial or detrimental to our society, and why?
I think that affirmative action every law that has ever been made was made for a reason. Affirmative action during its time was made because there was literally a separation between races, and then when there was no separation, there was still an inequality between different systems in our society. So affirmative action in a time period where race is still relevant is still needed.
Do you think that affirmative action is beneficial or detrimental?
I think affirmative action is still beneficial because it helps equal out the diversity within like a workplace.
Do you think that as a country we should aim towards equity or equality?
I think that we should aim for equity because well, this whole time we've been talking about race, but in America there's a disparity between the rich and the poor. So if we treated everybody equally, then at the end of the day nobody's going to be treated equally for real. Because okay, like in this case, like Wells Fargo charges me $35 if I went over my bank limit, right? But $35 to me as a broke college student is everything. $35 to my dad is nothing because he has a job. So that's that's equality, but it's not equity. Like $35 is more to me than it is to him. So it makes no difference to him, but it makes a difference to me.
And that ties in with affirmative action because it's equity because people are getting treated based on their differences. So they can have the same
opportunity
as other people. And what about you, Janisa?
I agree. I think that we should aim towards equity. It gives everybody like a better chance at like it's more beneficial in cases like what Christabel said about Wells Fargo.
Do you find yourself code shifting based on the different people you encounter in your life?
I always code shift. As a Black woman in America, I have to code shift. There's a way that, and also being African, I speak a different language. So if I'm at home, I speak Tree. When I'm with my friends, I speak English, but I speak English that is relatable to my friends. And when I'm at school, I speak proper English that my teachers can understand. So I have to code shift with different people around me just to make them feel comfortable around you.
I also code shift depending on like the environment that I'm around. So of course, like if I'm in a very professional setting, then I'll make sure to use very like formal words. But then when I'm with my friends, I speak more informally and I don't have to really worry about grammar and things like that. But I never dumb down my conversation based on like race or anything. I still speak the same.
Do you think that the media has portrayed women in a negative way, and if so, how?
All the time. I just read this. There's been so many incidents, in the media, specifically Fox News, where they address women as just being house employed or housewives, domesticated, exactly, and anything other than like any job or anything that like requires a woman to know more or know as much as a man seems ridiculous to them. So I think that even in today's society, women are still treated like we're below a man.
And what about you? So do you think that the media has portrayed women in a negative way?
Yeah, just like Christabel said about women always being housewives. Also, I lost my train of thought.
Like music videos, you know.
Oh yeah, in music videos, a lot of girls are portrayed as just very promiscuous, and yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I have another input on this. Like, even when we were little, watching just simple Cinderella and the Mermaid movie, all those fairy tale movies portray women in a negative light. Like with all those movies, the only thing that they were looking forward to was a man finding a need in them. So even as little kids, that's what we were taught by the media, to depend on a man.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Like waiting on our Prince Charming to make our lives better. Do you think that this country should continue the use of No Child Left Behind, or should states have more autonomy over how they teach?
I think that states should have more autonomy on how we're taught, just because when we did have No Child Left Behind, our curriculum was very pushed back. I just remember feeling like I didn't really have to learn anything during that time period, because it's like, I mean, it is beneficial for the people that can't learn at the pace of everybody else, but for the other extreme, it was like sitting there for nothing. So during those years, that was the worst.
What about you?
I agree with Christabel. I think that, like, if you're going to be a teacher, then you should try to work with each student to their best capability. So if there's more students who are more advanced, they should be taught and be tested for the material that they know, not just information that they didn't really need to review because they already knew it. Yeah.
Good input. Thank you, guys.